And as we take a look at the average spring snowfall out there across southern West Virginia, as you can see, some pretty impressive snowfall amounts showing up from Richwood into Snowshoe across western Pocahontas County. That's where those areas could see up to 3 feet of snow. Most of this falls as we get closer towards March. The rest of the region not quite as bad, from Beckley into Oak Hill, anywhere from 6 inches. And then as we turn our attention across our southeastern sections across the Greenbrier Valley from Lewisburg down into Union, that's where those areas see little to none snowfall as we get closer towards your spring months. Now let's send things over to Chief Meteorologist Chad Merrill for our official spring outlook.
All right, folks, here's our spring snowfall outlook. Braden just told you the average amount of snow we get. Well, folks, the area that will get above average snowfall, which is more than about 30 inches, is western Pocahontas County. They've already cashed in on a lot of snow so far this winter, but how does it look for the rest of our region, Christian?
Well, the western side of our region, Beckley, Oak Hill, you're going to have below average snowfall. And then towards the Greenbrier Valley, we'll have near average snowfall as it's lighter in the spring. Although Snowshoe is going to cash in on even more snow. They might even stay open for a little bit longer than they usually do. And it's the same thing with the rainfall, mostly above average here in the northern mountains, below average out west. Oak Hill, Beckley is on that line between below and near average, but we'll see parts of Welch, Tazewell, all the Greenbrier Valley is going to have a near average rainfall throughout the spring this year. But with that, we'll bring on Chief Meteorologist Chad Merrill to dive into the details.
Yeah, so we just talked about the snowfall, we just talked about the rain. Now we're going to talk about the up and downside risks to temperatures. We start out with Beckley in the month of March. The bars on the left-hand side going forward is the 30-year average. Everything you see thereafter are the analog years that we chose. So as you can see, there is some upside risk to some very chilly temperatures in March, but very limited upside risk to very warm temperatures. So we do think March will be rather warm. All right, let's flip forward to Lewisburg. Look at this, folks. All these bars are about on the same line. There's limited upside risk to a very cold month of March in Lewisburg and just some limited upside risk to warm temperatures. As we go to the next slide here, check it out. This is Bluefield. So yeah, there's actually going to be quite a dichotomy here. There is some upside risk to cooler weather, but some big upside risk to warmer weather. So Bluefield is right on the cusp where there could be some volatile temperature changes. Now the next slide here, this shows Snowshoe. We just mentioned Snowshoe will likely have above average snowfall, and most of that will occur in March. Well, you can see here, there's definitely upside risk to some cooler temperatures and very little in the way of upside risk to warmer temperatures. 2023 was the only example. All right, folks, let's continue on with Summersville. The bars are pretty much on the same line, so we do pretty much see that once we get into the northern part of our area, temperatures near or just slightly below average. No up or downside risk to very cold or very warm temperatures for you in Summersville. Now, let's go to April. This is for Beckley specifically. Again, this is a 30-year average, and we're comparing the analog years. Now, look at this. There's definitely some upside risks to some very warm temperatures in April for Beckley. There's just one analog year that stood out that was much, much colder. As we go to the next slide here in Lewisburg, look at this. This is pretty impressive. Definitely upside risk to very warm temperatures in the Greenbrier Valley for the month of April. And if it's cooler than average, there's not many upside risk to like really deep cold weather for the entire month. Go to the next slide. This is for Bluefield. You can see here, definitely upside risks with the analog years for above average temperatures in the month of April. And let's continue on here to Snowshoe. We do see one year that stands out very warm. The rest of them are just slightly above average. So another warm signal here in Snowshoe. As we go to the next slide, this is Summersville, and we see upside risk. These bars are much higher than the 30-year average, so some warm upside risks in Summersville and very limited upside risk to a downright cold April all around. And this is the final month of spring. We are looking at Beckley. And check it out, the 30-year average gets warmer, the average temperature about 61 degrees. And we see many of these signals which indicate the possibility of just below or just above average temperatures. That's going to depend a lot on the clouds and the rainfall. Lewisburg, 30-year average right here on the left. And look at this, we do have temperatures that'll probably straddle that near average line. There's one year that stands out very warm and one very cold, but with the clouds and precipitation should keep temperatures generally in check. And for Bluefield, so for Bluefield, we definitely see an upside risk for some warmer than average temperatures being in the southern coal fields in Bluefield. Now, we go to the next one. This is Snowshoe for the final month of spring. Upside risk to some very warm temperatures. And look at that, 2 of the analog years that were a little bit colder than average. So bottom line is maybe there could be a little bit of snow in May and Snowshoe, but more upside risk that the ski season, while it could extend farther than March into early April, probably not into May. So that is your 2024 spring outlook, and this is Summersville for the month of May, showing a better upside risk for warmer than average temperatures. So there you go, folks. We've gone through the temperatures, precipitation for the United States and for our region, so you have an idea of what it looks like. We will continue to follow the trends and bring you the latest here from the StormWatch 4 Weather Center. For Christian Boatler, this is Chief Meteorologist Chad Merrill, and for Braden Petrie as well. Thank you for joining us for part 2 of our spring outlook.